Okay, so up next is to go over outbound routes, which is going to be when you place a call on your phone, where does that call go? Is that call going to go to an answering machine? Is that call going to go to one of those interactive setups where it's like, press 1 to go here, press 2 to go there? Is it going to go out the voice pulse trunk? Is it going to go out some analog old telephone system trunk? You're going to have to choose that. So that's what we're going to set up here. We're going to set up a very, very basic outbound route that doesn't do anything crazy. We're just going to be setting up a basic outbound route that goes out through the voice pulse trunk that we created. So the first thing that we're going to have to do in order to do any of that is we're going to have to log in to the FreePBX administration interface over here, which is 192.168.2.5. It's going to be the same as the IP address that you set when you originally set up the server. Now you're going to click connectivity and then go outbound routes. I'm not sure if it's route or route, but I do know that route sounds so much cooler. So we're going to set the outbound route as VP5, voice pulse 5. You can set it to whatever you feel like. Now the caller ID, again, I'm just going to set that to this number because I actually don't know what phone numbers that are going to be required for the system yet. Route password, you don't need that right now, so we're not setting that up. Now, as you scroll down, you're going to see the dial patterns. Remember when I said ignore these? Now here's where we pay attention to these. And I'm going to say call recording yes because I want to show you how that feature works. So we have to add dial patterns, meaning, how should the numbers that you type in get translated by the system? So we're going to set up a few dial patterns here. So we're going to have 1-800 and XXXXXX. By the way, if you're in the continental United States, what I'm setting up here is most likely going to work for you just fine. But if you're outside the continental United States, or you have a special type of dialing plan that you want, you're going to have to set it up differently. You're going to have to look that up for your country. I don't know anything about international dialing plans. I don't pretend to know anything about international dialing plans. I barely know domestic dialing plans. So the next one is going to be 1-877-N XXXXXX. The next one here is going to be 1-888-N XXXXXX. So the whole idea here is when you use these phone numbers, it's going to go through this route. That's what we're saying here. Now what I'm saying here is if I did not type a 1 when I'm dialing out, please dial the 1 for me. Because here's the thing, a lot of the incoming calls that you get are not going to have the 1 added to them. So, with this specific system, you have to dial 1 to make a phone call. I'm so bad at counting the X's there. So what I'm doing is I'm telling it if I did not dial the 1, if I dialed something that looks like this, then prepend, meaning add a 1 to the beginning of it so that my call goes out. So again, here's the important thing here. When somebody calls the system, it's going to show up as 347-552-2258, right? But if I want to redial that person and I hit redial and there's no 1, then it's going to go, your call cannot be completed as dialed. However, if I set up this call route over here, if I set up this outbound route where when you see this 10-digit number that has this specific syntax, then add the 1 to it, when I hit redial on somebody who called, then it'll work. So this is the kind of stuff you need to be thinking about, because if this is the kind of stuff that people are going to notice or that people are going to be happy about or be calling you about when you're done setting up their phone system. Now, over here, we're going to choose Voice Pulse 5 and DADI-GO. The first trunk, obviously, that I want to work is the one that we just set up. So the whole idea here is dial patterns will use this route. So if you dial a number that looks like this, I actually forgot to add 411 in there. I should have added 411 for 311, 411 for New York. So if the number looks like this, if the number has, you're calling a 1-800 number, 1-877 number, 1-888 number, local number, long distance number, any of this stuff, it's going to use this route. This route goes out through Voice Pulse 5. So this route goes out through the voice over IP services provider that I'm paying, and that's the whole way that this works. An optional destination on congestion. If it thinks too many people are using a specific trunk, then you can send it out another trunk. Here again, we're keeping a very simple setup. We only have one SIP trunk going out. So over here, we're pretty much done. So you've set up your outbound route, you hit submit changes, and remember, with the way FreePBX works, once you hit submit changes, it's not actually done. You have to hit apply config, which is this big red button at the top. Now, the second thing that we're going to add here, is an emergency route. So let's say somebody calls 911. We need that to have its own route. So I'm going to type in route here, emergency. We're going to put the route caller ID as the phone number of the store. Again, I'm going to have to change that number once I figure out the phone number of the place that we're setting this up for. I'm going to click here for emergency, so the route type is going to be said emergency. And we're going to scroll down here, scroll down to dial patterns. So dial patterns that will use this route, I'm going to set it to 811 and 911. So if you dial 911, if you dial 911 on a phone, it's going to use this route. Now the trunk sequence, again, we're going to set it up to go with voice pulse. We're going to submit changes. And again, remember the way this works. You hit submit changes, but it doesn't actually submit until you choose apply config. So we have to hit apply config for anything to work. So that's it. We've set up our outbound routes. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to set up inbound routes. We're going to set up inbound routes so that if somebody tries to make a phone call to us, that phone call will go through.